Hi, I'm Peter Follansbee, and I'm back here at Lie-Nielsen, this time carving wooden bowls. A little different than the usual furniture work, very closely related to the spoon carving I do. In fact, the bowl carving comes right out of the same source. I learned this through the work of Yoga and Billy Sundquist, and I met both of those men through my friend Drew Langsner. A lot of what I know about carving bowls has come from work I've done with them, particularly with Drew. And so I'm going to show you how I've been making these bowls here lately. This is a greenwood craft, so I'll be splitting a log apart with wedges and a maul and working with axes and adzes and carving gouges to hew out these bits of sculptural woodenware for use in the home. We use them in our house as fruit bowls and things like that. You can, in larger ones, mix dough in them and find all kinds of uses for them. I work in these not in the oak that I always use for my furniture, but in usually softer woods. This particular one is tulip poplar, and here is one that I made a couple of years ago in birch. The one I'm working right now that I'll show you the process for carving this one is yellow birch. So you can use lots of different woods for these. Usually something fairly soft, although I have a friend, Dave Fisher, down in Pennsylvania, who does them in black cherry and walnut and even white oak. So if you have the stamina and the sharp tools, you can make them out of any kind of wood. But as I said, it's a greenwood craft, so the bulk of the work is done while the wood is very, very wet, while it's freshly felled, and it'll cut easier. Again, same premise as the spoon carving. These two bowls that I wanted to look at a little bit show us an important characteristic. Once I've split the log in half, one immediate decision to be made is the hollow for the bowl is either cut in the split section or in the bark section. So this bowl was cut with the bark down here, and you can even see the rounded shape of a half log right in here. So here's the flat part of the split, and there's the bark side. That gets you the most volume in your bowl. And another way to do it, and the way that I do most of mine, and this I got through Drew, is to hew the opening, the hollow in the bowl, in the bark side. So on this one, that log was half round up here and flat on the bottom. And you cut the hollow into the bark. And one of the things I like about this is it gets you this sort of sculpted shape this way rather than a flat shape like that bowl. And it just becomes a personal design decision. Neither one is right nor wrong. You get a lot of variety to these, what we call the bark up shapes. Here's one that's a good bit deeper than either of these two. So they can come in all kinds of sizes, all kinds of shapes. One of my favorites lately is the smallest and quirkiest one. I tend to gravitate towards the oddball ones. This was a limb from a very large butternut tree. And I cut the bowl bark up, and the piece wasn't round. It was sort of a lopsided oval shape. And I just followed the whole organic shape of that limb to make this bowl. So very quirky, but a lot of fun. So as you see, you can make them small, you make them larger, and here's another one I have roughed out. So this has been worked in the green wood with the larger tools, the axe and the adze, and a little bit of gouge work, and then that is now dry and will be finished off afterwards. So I'll show you some of those details. We'll go through the whole process of working on a couple different bowls. I'll show you the decorative carving as well, some of it done with a knife, and some of it done with just carving gouges like the furniture. So what we will do is begin, as usual, with a log and split it apart. Let's have a look at these two bolts I have here of this yellow birch. As I look at this one, yellow birch is readily identifiable by this very peeled bark, but that can often obscure some stuff. So I ripped some of that away, and some of what I'm finding is a large knot right here. I have a second one that was a little closer to the main trunk, a little lower down on the trunk, and this one has clearer wood in it. I can see just one small knot right there. So I'm going to split this one and see if this is our bowl. I'll kind of go across it this way, score it with the froe, and then I'll repeat with the wedges. And some woods pop open easier than others. So there's those first cuts just on your side of that center line. And then I go behind them . So here we have the birch bowl, the bark side up bowl, and you remember we've hollowed that out. Now I'm going to start with the hatchet to generally shape the exterior of this. And sometimes you can use a froe or the axe and a club and split a section off there, but I remember the way this one was splitting, and I'm too chicken to do that, so I'm going to hew it all off. What I want is to cut really an angled side like that and like this. I'll just show you how I do it. I tilt the piece up on the stump, make these cuts, scoring cuts just as before, and then break those off.